Here we are with the MicroKORG 2, obviously from Korg, right? This one was announced a while back but got its official release as of today. And I've had this one in my home studio for a couple of weeks by now, so I just wanted to show you guys real quick what it's all about and how I kind of feel about it. Now, this is the follow-up from the classic original MicroKORG that a lot of people have used and loved over the years. That one dropped about 22 years ago. And that's a synth I hate. But I don't hate this one. Let's get into that a little bit later. MicroKORG 2 is based on a whole new sound engine, but shares some of the form factor from the old one, obviously. And this is a virtual analog synth. So, in other words, digital, but they're trying to modulate the analog sound through magic or whatever. We're talking 8 voices and 3 different oscillators over here, and also 2 different timbre layers that gives you access to use like 6 different sound sources for one single sound, depending on how you see things. And some of these oscillators can also be used as modulation sources for some really cool sound designing type of stuff. And of course, it also has a bunch of filters built in. And what's cool about the filter section specifically is that I'm able to morph between different filter types like this, kind of seamlessly. I'm not sure how much I've seen that before. It's kind of a nice touch. We're also getting 2 different LFOs over here that could be assigned to pretty much anything, and envelopes for the amplitude and the filter. It also comes with a gooseneck microphone that just attaches on the back like that, kind of like on the first MicroKORG. And the microphone allows you to use the built-in vocoder, or this auto-tune, kind of hard tune functionality, or a harmonizer, or those 2 together. I'm not sure how much I'm going to use that myself, but it's a cool functionality to have access to, you know? And in terms of built-in effects, we're getting a delay and a reverb and an equalizer. And we also have all sorts of different options for adding modulation to a lot of the internal stuff. But in terms of effects, reverb, delay, EQ. That's it. The filter section also has this drive parameter on one of the knobs, and if you crank that all the way, you're almost getting into distortion territory, but that's not really an effect, it's just a thing in the filter, you know. But it also has this really nice arpeggio over here with 2 different pages of settings, so you can do a lot of cool stuff with that one. But this doesn't have a built-in sequencer whatsoever. Instead, we're getting this pretty funky audio looper built in that allows you to record audio for a few bars, or actually a lot of bars if you want to. Let's record something like this. Okay. And we can actually overdub on top of that, but it's not multi-track recording, so whenever it's recorded, it's what it is. Now it's all in there. So I really want to dig deeper into this because it's a lot of fun, but I can't really see myself making a full track with that looper. Even though I'm sure it's possible, it just doesn't feel necessary. To me, it's more of a handy tool to be able to record a quick melody instead of forgetting all about it, or maybe recording a bass line and then having a jam on top of that loop, something like that. Fun and useful and cool, but, you know, it's not a sequencer. Now, the build quality, at least of this black version I have right here, and this might also be an early unit, I don't know, but the build quality isn't that great. Nothing to write home about at all. It's all plastic over here, all plastic underneath. This is a thin metal faceplate, but it feels kind of plasticky, and it actually looks better on camera than what it feels like in real life, at least to me. It's pretty lightweight, and it makes a few noises like like that from just handling it. That wasn't me pressing any buttons, that's just how the plastic sounds. And just like with the first MicroKORG, this isn't that expensive. It's not a premium synth, it's not a high-end device by any means. What needs to be pointed out though is that all the controls, all the buttons, all the different knobs and stuff feels great. That's high quality stuff right there. That feels really good, these feel really good, and the buttons too. Everything is nice and snappy and no complaints about that, just the actual casing. And maybe the keyboard a little bit too. And the keyboard is slightly bigger than the old MicroKORG, and I'm one of those weirdos who actually really likes mini keys, so that's subjective and me being weird, whatever. It's just not going to be for everyone. And I also have this weird uneven spacing between some of the keys that looks kind of worse than it feels. These two keys are actually further apart than these two are, and you can't really do anything about that. It's not like any of the keys are touching when you play them or anything. It's just an aesthetic thing. Doesn't look that great. And again, it might just be my unit. Who knows? And the keys are also really sensitive. Took me a little bit of time to get used to, and I guess it could help if you want to play stuff fast, but somehow I'm not sure how to describe this even, but somehow it feels like the keys are reacting higher on the key travel than I expected. So if the key travel is this, I expected the sound to be generated there. Instead, it's there. I don't know. I guess we're really splitting hairs about the details, but you know, it's a feeling kind of thing. So let's zoom out a little bit. The first MicroKORG became one of those instruments that pretty much everyone had. The first synth for a lot of people and the only synth ever for some. Essentially, an instrument that offers a lot of bang for the buck. Because the first one wasn't that expensive and now the history repeats itself. So the market looks completely different today from what it was 22 years ago, but I think they're aiming for kind of the same thing. A versatile and usable synth for anyone. Now, I've always pretty much hated the original MicroKORG because how difficult it is to use and program and tweak your sounds. Like navigating this weird system where you have to trace different lines and columns of texts to know what a specific knob does, just never worked for me. Sure, it's old and whatever, but to me it's also just a case of bad design for a user interface. That's not how I want to interact with my musical instruments at all. And that's what really stands out about this one to me. A pretty large color display over here with an easy-to-use color-coded system makes everything so much easier. The fact that we're also getting almost OP1 style animations and graphics on the display itself doesn't hurt either. This is just really satisfying stuff. When it all comes down to it, an instrument like this one is made and designed to be used by people, right? Like me and you and pretty much anyone. And having a user interface like this just makes a lot of sense. It's easy to understand, it's accessible, and whenever you start learning everything, it's also pretty fast to work on. Please don't get me wrong here. The MicroKORG 2 is a great synth. It's really powerful and has a lot of stuff going for it. You can kind of go crazy with the different oscillators and the modulation sources, the filter types, routing stuff back and forth, vocoder, looper, arpeggio. You know, it's definitely all in here. But to me, the selling point for this one is how easy and how fun and inspiring it is to actually use it. We haven't even touched on the different presets over here. We can change between different genres and different presets and patches and go from a classic to a modern or even a futuristic version of kind of the same patch. That's also cool and a great starting point, but to me, the usability of actually using this as the synth that it is, by creating your own presets, your own sounds, your own signature instruments, that's where I think it's at with Korg's MicroKORG 2. So I think that's it. That's my first look at this one, a quick little review and my thoughts about the unit itself. It's cool. It's actually great. Apart from the build quality though, you know, just had to say it again. And it's not that expensive considering everything that it has to offer. So that's it. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one too. Until then, ha det gott!
Accurate beats.